Hi, I'm Shauna Lee with Infinity Readings. I want to thank everybody who's joined, liked, or subscribed to my page or my Facebook page. I have a Facebook page called Infinity Readings and Reviews if you want kind of more of a personal insight into where my mind is going, and also access to free monthly readings. And I will be giving away like micro readings. I'll be on for an hour and just accept questions as they come. First come, first serve type thing, and then we'll go from there and see what kind of demand that brings. But that's where you'll get access to that, and that's also where you'll get access if I decide to go outward with my readings. That's Infinity Readings and Reviews on Facebook. Click join, I'll add you in there, and then just wait around and see what happens. A lot of times it's just a more personal view of what I get instinctively throughout the months that I'm not sending the videos out. Sometimes I get intuitive downloads and I spit it out through the page, or I just feel inspired to put, a lot of positive information in that way, and that's where all the kind of the news that I get intuitively is just spewed out there. So I want to thank anybody who's already in there and who is following me, and I want to thank them for their likes, subscribes, for the comments. I appreciate it. As long as it's productive in some way, I absolutely absorb that shit. I get in there, and it actually makes a difference in how I proceed forward. I do have fluxes here and there where family and life gets in the way, and usually everybody's been very accepting and graceful of that time. So I appreciate that for all the people that are on there. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about the decks that I'm using. I have I'm doing a 2-pyramid male-female split for my readings. I just, came up with that on the fly. I'm using, I found Masculine and Feminine set, which I'm very stoked about. The Gods and Titans deck from Stacey DeMarco, and the Goddesses and Sirens deck, also from Stacey DeMarco. Those are the two, the male and the female, that I use. I clarify the female deck with the Whispers of Love. And I'm turning more into the love side of things. I was clarifying with some grounded energy, but my decks kind of somehow disappeared, so I had to change it up. So the Whispers of Love is really giving the insight to the female side, and then I'm using the Love and Sex Tarot deck to give little harder edge to the God and Titans, the male side, kind of looking into their sexual. I don't know that they would pick up on the softer side of it anyway. I think it would be a little too fluffy. So I think the sexual edge that this tarot deck gives is working very well. I think the energies are working very well. So that is the decks that I'm using at this point. Whatever you're dealing with from June 20th to September 22nd, that is the run time here that I'm forecasting for. There's a few themes that are running through. One of them is a sense of play. Keep that for the summer. Don't get too serious. But those that are driven to need to, I guess. We need to keep love and compassion alive, and not only that, go outward with it. So happy summer to everyone, and on with the readings. This is the reading for Scorpio for the summer of 2017 in Canada. That consists of the months between June 20th and September 22nd. Start out with the feminines. Their energy here is a new beginning energy. So there is new infusement. I think everybody over the summer here is getting really a burst of new refreshing energy in all directions. All signs are getting it. But Scorpio here to an exalted degree, they're really having, they're showing me the Tower card. It's like no choice but to make a new beginning here. So there's almost like, it's kind of like their arms have been wrapped around their back. They got to go in this direction. But nonetheless, embracing it and moving it forward. So the new beginning is a fiery one, and there's orange in the background there symbolizing action. The next card we have is Strength. So I feel like, because this, I can't even remember my own reading there, but they're just showing me these details. that there's situations kind of happening very quickly for these Scorpios. Maybe advancements have kind of backed up a bit. But the strength here is going to be needed to move forward. And they do have reserves for this. They kind of are unprepared, but that works in their favor. So the strength, they're going to need it. They've got some on reserve, but they're going to have to really dip into it for this new direction that they're going in. The next card I get is power. So with this strength in the new beginnings and the kind of the eruption of all of this process going on, I feel like they're feeling very powerful in that. It's almost like, oh, look what happened, and I dealt with it, and I got over it, I got through it, and I'm going in a new way, and a new way of doing things. So they're feeling very powerful within that. And the next card I get is cycles. So they are in and amongst the cycles. This seems to be, like I said, the latter part of the horoscope here. It's kind of shrunk down here. I feel like they're going to learn a lot in a short period of time. So they've got to get it going. They got to have the strength for this, because that's really what it is. I feel like there's a lackadaisical on their list. They just weren't checking things off. So now they have no choice. It's the end of the line. It's the end of the year. We got to test for this, and it's got to go. So that's what's happening, and there's some cycles that are popping up. Now the new beginnings, I'm not too sure if they're going to be aware of these cycles, but they're happening nonetheless. The next card we get is equality. So the balancing out of things, and it's right by the power. So I feel an urge to warn about your power and your ego. I feel like some of these feminine Scorpios might be a little too much in their ego to use the power effectively without it coming back in karma. That makes sense. So what's going to happen is, if you go overpower yourself into your ego with this new beginning, you're going to end up busting yourself into another cycle of repetition of what just happened. So you need to balance that out. I feel like there's maybe not a mental awareness, but an internal awareness somehow of kind of, weeding in and out. So you just got to be aware of that. Got to keep that in mind. So equality, balancing things. Where you end up at is pleasure. Pleasure is pleasure. Pleasure is good things that make you feel good. I feel like there's a little bit of a misconception here with your idea of pleasure and where it sits with you. Just give me a minute. This new beginning, I feel, even though you were pushed in this direction, it's something that you want to do, and it's something that you're happy with now. But if you were told to go in the direction before you were ready, you were like, no, I don't want to do that. So there is a sense of pleasure here in this direction. Now we have pleasure, equality, and power. There's something missing here. I can't even put my finger on it myself, but there's some sort of insight missing as to where you're going and why. It's like you've been brought in this direction. You have no other choice. Yeah, I like it here. But are you going to fulfill here? You need to be here now to learn your lesson. But is this where you're fulfilled? Is this where you want to be? I feel like that may be lost on you. I think that's part of your cycle, not knowing or having an end result. Or how do they say? Be prepared. Forethought. Not thinking ahead enough to know if this is really what you want. Is this going to be in terms of longevity, what I want to keep forever? Is this what I want to keep today, this month, this year, this cycle? What is it? So I feel like there's a little bit of spiritual depth you need to look from. I think you need to go a little deeper into why you do things. It's like, yeah, it's okay now. There's just a very short-term flippant attitude here that needs to change, and that's the cycle that's going to repeat itself if you don't come from wisdom on this. So meaning, figure out why this is a pleasure for you. Is it an ego pleasure? Because that won't last. And that is the thing here. You're getting a power from a little bit of ego. I think you're trying to balance that, and it's there. The equality is there. We got to equalize this out, because we're getting too far with the ego. So watch on the pleasure principles that it's not coming from ego, because then your cycles will start all over again, and you're really not going to get forward. You're just going to keep spinning sideways You're not going to get ahead. You're just sideways. So that's really what it is. So just check that ego and really know the difference. Are you doing it out of your ego or not? Here's a telltale sign. If you're doing it for the approval of others, this is a sign of ego. If you are doing it for approval of yourself and you may get backlash, but you want to do it anyway, that is not ego. That is, so you really have to figure out what it is that you do truly want, because that is really what the universe wants you to have. But it seems like there's a sense of lost about these feminine Scorpios. They're really lost in what it is that truly makes them happy. And they're doing pleasure outside of themselves. Does it make that person happy if I do this? Then I'll do it. And it's not necessarily to make them happy. It's more for the attention that it gets them. And that is ego-driven as well. So just to be aware of that, that's kind of a trip up. And it will continue this cycle for as long, you could go into infinitum with this. But they really want you to kind of wake up a little bit and be aware of the direction you're going. Like, there's being in the flow, and then there's being washed to the shore every 8 hours when the tide comes in. You want to be able to go with the flow, but you want to get somewhere. You don't want to just go on the shore and go back out, go on the shore and go back out. You want to be able to be somewhat in charge of where you're going. And if you have no idea what that is, you need to stop and figure that out. It's a little bit of a no direction with the Scorpio women. That's what it is. There's no direction, no forethought. They're just going because they kind of getting funneled there as a last resort. You kind of want to be ahead of the last gate, the blocking gate. It's like they're backed right up against the gate, and they're like, oh, okay, this ain't so bad. But they really have to know what they're feeling and what drives them. That's part of that individuality that they want you to shine from. They're just not feeling it. They're just going with everybody else's flow. But that's not what they came here to do. So that's that. Okay, so in the love and romance sector of the Scorpio reading for the feminines, the first card I get is rest and relaxation is essential. We all have a fundamental need to take breaks. So we may have part of that lost being is just busybodiness. Just too much going on, not enough time to think. Therefore, you're not thinking. Therefore, you're not getting anywhere. You're just spinning and you're busy. You're not accumulating knowledge. You're not in a forward progression, and things aren't going anywhere. You're just kind of spinning your tires and wasting a lot of energy doing it. And that's the problem. So rest and rejuvenate. The summer, relax. Don't be going out and doing this, whether it's for work or for family or for commitments. Just, say, no, I need some time to myself. People are getting more understanding of this. And if they're not, they should be. You just say, you know what, no, I took this weekend to relax with my family, and I'm going to do that. And if they have a problem, well, then they're the one that's going to look like the jerk, not you. You just have to take that time to relax. Take that time to indulge. Let your mind loose. Because your mind is just going here, there, everywhere. And you really have no time for self. Rest and relaxation. It's essential. So do that for your love life, if nothing else. Because it will replenish that. And that is really, I'm feeling too with these feminines, they just don't even have time for their love life. It's there, but they're not attentive to it. They're not in the moment with it. They're not being grounded in it, if that makes sense. So the next card I get is the heart of the matter. There is more going on than meets the eye. Recognize what it is all about. So that's another hint saying, we're really not going very deep here. We're really on the surface. So we need to dive down and figure out our wants and needs to a deeper level. And then in the romance area, it's like, get to the heart of the matter. If you got some problems, get to the root of it. If you guys are not dealing, then start dealing. Start bringing up issues, It seems like they're not even coming to the forefront. They're just wafting off somewhere. Meaning the person itself. It's just the female's just walking away, going off somewhere. I don't care. I don't care what he does, what he says, what he thinks, And that's just not being engaged. So get to the heart of the matter. Why do you feel that way? Why are you flippant like that? Why are you letting that energy draw you? There's a reason. get to the root of that and discuss and say, you know, the other day you pissed me off and now I couldn't care less what you do and da da da. Even if you just communicate that, get it off your chest, sometimes that is enough. And then things, you know, it just try it. Anyway, the next card we get for the Scorpios for their love and romance sector is spiritual connection. This relationship has a connection that goes beyond this lifetime. So you may be in a spiritual union that is fated, is a soulmate union, is you know, beyond this lifetime, and you maybe I'm sensing like a real airiness, to say the least, but like a lot of distance between the couples. It's almost like a roommate sense here, where they just not checking in with each other and whatever. So there is a spiritual connection here, but somehow maybe it got lost. Maybe there's something that's lost. Maybe you know, you got into an argument, you guys just floated over. You never dealt with it, but you never you know, you never solved it either. So yeah, a little bit of a loose tie here in the romance area, just not wanting, or not that they're not wanting, they're just not seeing the need to dive in. So you know, keep your rest and relaxation in mind. That has part to do with that drives you away from everything. And then you know, get to the heart of the matter and realize that there is a spiritual connection here and it may be worth checking out, looking into, trying to get closer. So that's a little bit of the love and romance sector for the females. For the males, where are they sitting? We have the first card we have for them is renewal. So there is some energy, and I remember there was some dicey stuff going on for these guys, these Scorpio males, and we'll see if that's kind of cleared up. So renewal, so there's new energy coming in. Of course, summer, right? It's interesting how this guy's looking up to the skill. There's a renewal of energy, but we need skill to be on top of that, to stay on top of that new energy, because I feel like we can slip back into a rut. Because we're just on the hill now, we got to take it easy so we don't get pulled back in. The next card we get is flow. So there's flow here for you, and I feel like it being in the middle, usually you're right in it, but I feel like you're dabbling in it and going out, dabbling in it, going out. It's like it's uncomfortable to be in the flow. You're not quite sure how to navigate yet. The current's going too fast. I don't know what's going on here. So you're kind of going in and then getting out, going in and getting out. So for these males, the flow is there. It's just a matter of, you know, the renewal, because there's a lot of back and forth movement with this guidance system here. So the next card I get is discovery. So that may be, you may be discovering that there is a path here, there's a spiritual way. And even though I think being a water sign, right, Scorpio, they kind of are going to go there naturally, but not unsure why, unsure what is supposed to keep them there, feeling the weight of that. What does that feel like? Does it feel uncomfortable? They have not been on that track for that long. It will feel uncomfortable, and I feel like these guys, these Scorpio males, were on a bit of a rough track there. They're going down the wrong roads, getting led by the wrong voices, and getting into trouble, and I feel like right now they may have been dealing with what they need to deal with at that time, because there's no deviousness here. So they're being guided highly. I mean, that's your last card is guidance, but anyway, they're in the discovery mode that there's something here I got to deal with, and I gotta, you know, be careful how I maneuver from here, which is very good that they're aware of that now, because I'll tell you, in the last reading they could have just been blown to smithereens at the drop of a hat. So they're being a lot more careful about their steps, which is good. They're discovering, they're being awakening to what they need to. The next card we get is skill. Like I said, the renewal is looking up at the skill. It's like we need skill to keep this new energy here. We need skill, because this is that new. It's like Ziploc new, fresh, you know. It's we gotta have that new energy, and there's a part of you that knows this is something I gotta work towards, but it still feels uncomfortable because it's so new. Its newness is not sitting well with you, but you got to get used to it. The next card here is Destroyer. So I'm feeling like you're ready and now able. I don't know that you weren't able before. I think you were in denial before. There were areas that you needed to clean up. Now you're in the destroyer mode. You're like, okay, I know what it is, so now I'm going to get rid of it. So that's good. Because I felt like that was your destructive, that was the, you know, the Jenga thing, where the whole thing topples over. That was where it was. The destroyer was sitting there in wait and knowing he has to get rid of these things that are not working. And so that is where he's going, and that's what he's doing. So that is good, because that shows action in the right ways. It's going to be a little aggressive. He's going to have to stay on top of it. He's going to need his skill, but he's doing it nonetheless, and it's getting done, and that's all he can do. And you end up with guidance. So you are being guided through the summer, and I feel like the latter part of the spring, you were coming into that right side of things, and where to listen, where to go, what to do. Really feeling like, okay, it's time. I got to deal with all this stuff, and that's. The thing was, though, they were optionals in your mind. In your mind, you were looking as optionals, but they were not in society or reality. They really did need to be accomplished, but you were putting them to the back burner. And now you're bringing them to the forefront. You're following your guidance, and you're letting those things that you need to not let go of, but you need to tackle, you're doing it. So that's good. So that's action oriented, good productive energy. I'm glad that they're getting themselves out of that hole, because I'm telling you, the hole they were in, man, it could have just been covered right over, and see you later. I was worried about the karmic repercussions for these Scorpios, but they seem to be stepping up, taking their heels and digging it in and doing what needs to be done, and that's all that they can do. That's all that they can do. They're doing as much as they need. So that is good. Now for the love, romance, sex sector. For the male Scorpio, the first card I get is the Knight of Wands. It's a very beautiful energy. You have these two people on horseback riding through. So it's almost like the freedom to express. I mean, they're just naked. They're going out there horseback riding. They don't care. So it's a freedom. So you may be in a relationship where you have sexual freedom. You have, and I don't mean freedom like you go to partners, but you're within the relationship, within the partnership. You have the freedom to express yourself sexually without judgment, and it's all good and great and wonderful and very expressive, very loving, and very on tap. Like, you guys are both equal partners in that way. You both have the same balance of what you like and don't like. So it's all good. So equal partnership, free and easy, and light and airy is really what I get from there. So no real heavy burdens on the relationship. So therefore the sex is a lot less burdensome as well. The next card I get is the Ten of Wands. So speaking of burdens, is interesting because in the normal tarot deck, the Ten of Wands is the burden card. But yet when I look at this, I get a sense, I mean, this is not a burden. I don't know how we can look at this and see burden. But what happens here is I get the sense these two just, I mean, her clothes are ripped. It's like they just can't get enough. They're going and taking it when they can. So it's that feeling of, it's like a guy sees a girl across a room and there's huge passion, huge eruption of energy, and then they just go out back and they take care of it. That's really what I see this card embracing, literally embracing the sex and the physical act of such. And then it's like, and that's it, like, so sort of like a romp, right? So we have this light and airy feel, and then there's this, getting it while you can. So you may be in a relationship where you may have some times in vacation time where you're being light and airy, and then you may have to get back to business where you're kind of getting it when you can. And the last card we get is the Moon. So the Moon really symbolizes things that are under the cover. They may also signify, and I'm saying shady, but within the relationship, things that are secretive behavior that is going on. And it may even be within the partnership. You know, you may have older kids living at home, and you got to kind of hide to meet each other for, you know, a liaison, you know, and you're kind of undercover. So I feel like you guys are out in the open, but yet there's a bit of you that's kind of like sneaking off out back and having fun. So there may be just a little more energy for that. And just the moon kind of just puts a nice soft mystery on it, makes it a little more erotic. There could also be some secretiveness, but I'm not going to get into that because we could also get into shady areas. But for the most part, I think it's really within the, you know, within the workforce and life force, you know, you have a vacation time. I feel like this is really, this one here, the Knight of Wands, is really connected to vacation time, where you can relax and really enjoy that. And then the normal day-to-day is this Ten of Wands. You're going to just get it where you can, and, you know, I'm too tired or whatever. And then it's like, oh, we got it. Okay, you're free, I'm free. Okay, let's do this. And then the the moon is just kind of a symbol that, you know what, there's things yet to be revealed there. But so far it looks great. And for the singles, I feel like they might have some opportunities for a little bit of rompage here going on. And they also might be at a lot of open air parties where there's a lot of communicating and a lot of getting together and flirting and like, you know, being in a position where, let's go for a ride. Let's, you know, it just, like for the younger people, you know, some guy takes you out for a ride in his car, and then you just, the wind's blowing in your hair, that kind of, that's what they're showing me. And, you know, you have a great time, but it's just the two of you, so it's kind of romantical. But there's no commitment per se, you know. It's just, hey, you want to go for a ride, lady? And then away it goes. And then, you know, and then it could lead to a romp as well. And then mystery may be whether you continue the relationship or not on a single level. But, so for the most part, it's all good. It's all good. It's all gravy. And the Scorpios are kind of, they're doing all right. They could, I feel like if these Scorpio females don't realize where their pleasure comes from, they're going to be put in positions where they're just not going to get it anymore. They're not going to gain the pleasure because they're not going to really know how to feel it. It's hard to express. If you do not know what pleases you, you cannot find it. Really is the base here. So get to the bottom of what pleases you, and the power that you feel now will be multiplied. And then your strength will come, and your new beginnings will start to be more solid and grounded. I feel like they may be on a turn here of a little bit of cycleage, where they're repeating a few things, but in unawares at this time. They're not aware of the cycle that they may be in. But nonetheless, on the way, busy and doing. So take your time and relax, and do that with your partner and communicate, and that will help. There's a spiritual connection there, so tap into it. So in the meantime, you guys, Scorpios, water signs, get out there, be good to one another, be kind, and have fun, and take care.